All right, today we're pulling back the curtain on Solidity. You know, the programming language that's basically the engine behind the entire decentralized world. So if you've ever wondered how smart contracts on Ethereum just work, executing all by themselves without needing a middleman, then you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to start from the very beginning. What even is Solidity? Then we'll dive into its building blocks, the data types, and see how it uses them to make decisions. After that, we'll look at how all that logic gets bundled into functions. And finally, we'll explore how contracts can communicate and stay secure using things called events and modifiers.
Okay, so first things first, let's tackle the big, fundamental question.
What exactly is this language that's powering so much of the blockchain world?
To put it simply, Solidity is the language you use to write the blueprints for smart contracts. In a smart contract, just think of it like a program that lives on the Ethereum network. It follows its own set of rules, like if this happens, release these funds, or register this person as the new owner, and it does it all automatically. No banks, no lawyers, no middlemen. Solidity is the tool that lets developers write those rules.
Now, what's really clever about how Solidity was designed is that it feels, well, familiar to a lot of developers. It's heavily influenced by JavaScript, and that was a super strategic move. It meant that this massive community of web developers could start building on the blockchain without having to learn some totally alien brand new language from scratch. It really lowered the barrier to entry.
Okay, so you might hear this term thrown around, Turing complete. It sounds really technical, but it points to both Solidity's greatest strength and, believe it or not, its biggest potential weakness.
At its core, being Turing complete just means that Solidity can handle any computational problem you throw at it, just like a regular computer. It can make complex decisions and run loops, which gives it incredible power and flexibility.
But here's the catch. With all that power comes a pretty big risk. It opens the door to something called the halting problem. So what if someone, either maliciously or just by accident, writes a contract with an infinite loop? A loop that just never ever stops. Well, on a decentralized network, where thousands of computers all have to run the same code, a program that won't stop could literally grind the entire Ethereum network to a halt.
And this is where Ethereum's solution is just brilliant. It's an economic solution. Every single tiny step of computation in Solidity costs a small fee, and that fee is called gas. So when you send a transaction, you have to set a gas limit, basically the maximum amount you're willing to pay. If your code runs for too long and burns through that limit, it just stops. The fee is still paid, but the network is safe. It makes infinite loops incredibly expensive and protects everyone.
Okay, so now that we get the big picture and how it protects itself, let's zoom in a bit. Let's talk about the actual building blocks of a contract, its core data types.
Right, every program needs a way to work with data. You know, numbers, text, true or false statements. Solidity is no different, and it gives us a set of core types to manage all that information right on the blockchain.
So here are the essentials. You've got your basic bool for true or false. You have integers like uint, which is an unsigned integer, so only positive numbers. This is perfect for things like token balances. Then there's int, which can be positive or negative. The address type is super important and unique to this space. It literally holds a user's wallet address. And then there's mapping, which is incredibly useful. For anyone who comes from a database background, think of a mapping like a simple key-value table. It lets you instantly look up a value, like someone's balance, by using their wallet address as the key. It's really, really efficient.
So, we have our data, but how do we use that data to actually make our contract smart?
A contract can't just be a dumb box for storing data, right? It needs to be able to react and make decisions. And that's where control structures come into play. They let us build logic that can respond differently depending on the situation.
And again, if you've ever done any programming, this is going to look really familiar. Solidity uses the classics: if-else statements to check if something is true and act on it, for loops to repeat an action a specific number of times, and while loops to keep doing something as long as a condition is met. This standard setup is another thing that makes Solidity so easy for developers to pick up.
All right, let's look at how we package all that logic into neat, reusable blocks.
Functions are really the verbs of a smart contract. They're the actions. They take all that logic we've been talking about and bundle it into callable tasks like transfer tokens or update this record.
A function in Solidity has a really clear structure. You start with the keyword function, you give it a name, and then you define any parameters or inputs it needs. A really critical part is its visibility. Is this function public, meaning anyone can call it, or is it private, just for the contract to use itself? Then you declare what kind of data it returns, if anything, and finally, the body, inside the curly braces, is where the actual logic lives.
Okay, we are almost there. These last two pieces of the puzzle solve two really important problems: communication and security.
So this brings up a couple of key questions. First, once a function runs on the blockchain, how does your app or website even know that it worked? And second, how do you stop just anybody from calling a really sensitive function, like one that transfers ownership of the contract? Well, Solidity has some very elegant answers for both.
For communication, the answer is events. You can think of an event as a signal that the contract broadcasts. It's a super cheap way to log that something important happened, like a token transfer from one person to another. Your web application can then listen for these specific events and update the user interface to say, hey, your transaction went through. And for security, we have modifiers. A modifier is basically like a bouncer at the door of a function. It's a reusable piece of code that runs a check before the main function logic even starts. The classic example is an only owner modifier. You attach it to a function, and it checks, is the person calling this function the owner of the contract? If the answer is no, it just stops them right there. It's absolutely fundamental for building secure contracts.
So let's do a quick recap. Solidity is this powerful, developer-friendly language for building on Ethereum. The whole gas system is a brilliant economic fix to keep the network safe. And it gives us essential tools like events to communicate with our apps and modifiers to lock down security. Getting these core concepts down is really the first major step to building awesome dApps. And hey, if this breakdown was helpful, hitting that like and subscribe button really helps us know you want more explainers like this.
So we'll leave you with this to think about. The building blocks themselves are pretty simple, but what you can build with them is, well, almost limitless. From decentralized finance to digital art and new forms of governance, these tools are creating a whole new digital world. So the only real question is, what part of it are you going to build? Thanks for joining us.